Well, welcome everybody. We'll start the meeting on time tonight. So if everybody would be quiet. Thank you for coming along to the Australian Numismatic Society's 1200th meeting. How about that?
You got a cake, are we?
1,002?
No. Look, we've got apologies from Les Carlisle, Lindy Hall, Joe Detling, Jim Noble, Colin Pitchfork, Bob Clinton, Barry Towers, Robert Tonner, Marie Brad and Ian Seisland. I think that there was a few other apologies in the book, but has everybody signed the attendance book?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Is there any other people that you know couldn't make it to the meeting tonight? An apology?
I haven't heard any late apologies.
I haven't heard from anyone. All right, we'll just move straight into general business then. Our next meeting on the 8th is on the 8th of July. That's mainly because there is no meeting in June, because we would normally be in the conference at Coffs Harbour. Plus it's a long weekend as well.
Oh, that's right.
It's a long weekend, so we won't be having our meeting on that day. So yeah, just remember that 8th of July is our next meeting. The topic is going to be ships on numismatics. So yeah, anything that's got a ship on it, bring it along. I'm sure there's plenty to bring along. Now there is a stamp and coin, well I will say it properly, coin and stamp expo at Hurstville on the 13th to the 16th of June. So any of the people that sort of feel that they can't get through June because there's no meeting, we can sort of have a little bit of a meeting at the coin and stamp expo. Rod's got flyers for it over there. It's at Hurstville. And at
Johnny Warren Centre?
Johnny Warren Centre. It's on the corner of Forest Road and King George's Road. It's a big aquatic centre, so you can't miss it. Right, so there's a flyer over there if you want to get hold of one of those. We've been invited to promote numismatics at the show, so we're going to have an ANS table. If you want to come along, give Rod some details and sort of say, well, we'll be on such and such a day.
I've asked for 2 trestle tables, so I'm assuming they're going to be about this size or a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And Joe Detling was going to supply us with 2 cases so that if you have a display, you put it in the case. But if you have your own case, bring it along too.
Just to show a display. So 13th to the 16th of June is actually Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Free admission, so you know we don't need to sort of go in under the guises of being ANS members.
But you can, and if you let me know that you're going to be manning the ANS table, doesn't matter which day, I'll let Laurent, who's looking after all the volunteers, I'd let him know and he'll make a name tag for you so that when you get in you don't have to wait till 11 o'clock to get in. Right. On that Thursday you can go straight in.
Get the bargains before everybody else gets in.
And I don't know if we will be given lunch vouchers or not. I reckon we should be, but basically the stampies who man this stamp table, they're given a lunch voucher because the aquatic centre is right next door, and they have a canteen there that sells sandwiches and toasted stuff and meat pies and the usual sort of stuff. And you know, if you get a $10 meal voucher, you can buy yourself a nice drink and food. But if they don't give us the vouchers, you have to put your hand in your pocket and pay for it yourself.
Or bring your own.
Yeah.
There's plenty of parking at the aquatic centre, and
but it does fill up.
It does fill up, but you know there's still plenty of parking around
around the area.
around the area anyway, so you won't have a problem. Okay. Is there any other general business?
I've got just one item, just to let you know. We have a term deposit for $7,000 that matures on the 20th of May. That's a week's time. I'm planning, it's an automatic 5-year rollover, so it'll be rolled over for 5 years, but I'm planning on depositing an extra 2,000 from our check account to bump it up to 9 grand. That it was getting 4.55%, but we're not going to get that this time around. We'd be lucky to get 2.8 or something. But if we have an extra 2,000 in it, you know, we'll still get a little bit of interest.
There is also the Royal Australian Mint have got a product launch tomorrow at the Maritime Museum. They're launching the Mutiny on the Bounty coins. There's a 3-coin set, I think it is, that they are going to do, but they're actually going to launch that here in the Maritime Museum in Sydney tomorrow, 10 o'clock. But you've got to have a ticket to get in.
Do you have a ticket?
Yeah, of course I do. Yeah, I bought my ticket. I get a coin to get to boot, so.
Will they be selling any of the other stuff there at all? Do you know, the rolls and all that sort of thing?
Don't know. They didn't say in the information that I got hold of, but it was just that if you want to go, you got to buy a ticket, and the ticket was $16. So yeah, they might have other things there to show or to sell. Maybe.
I'm still looking for those red. Bring them home.
I'm supposed to bring something for you. Yeah, I got some, but I forgot to bring it. Sorry. Okay, so that's also happening tomorrow. So you'll see that there'll be another $1 coin that you're going to have to collect if you so inclined. So just watch out for it. Is there any other general business? Nothing. Okay. We'll move straight on to the topic of the night then, and it's Europe pre-20th century. So it's a little bit confusing, I think, because it says 20th century, but that in actual fact is all the coins made in before 1901 to 1999. Yeah, because I suppose I should.
There's a lot of coins made before 1901.
I suppose I should know why they call it the 20th century, but it's mainly because we had from 0 to 100, 0 to 1,000.
That was the first century.
0 to 100.
Yeah.
No,
Is
that
first century.
0.
1 to 99.
1 to 99 is the first century.
Is 1 to 100.
0 was the
1
Big
to
Bang.
100, yeah.
No, 1 to 100.
It is too, that's right.
1 to 100.
I don't know, it's cut off point 99.
Yes. So the 20th century would have started.
Anyway,
It's always that argument.
all right. So so it's Europe pre-20th century. So anything that you've got that you had in your collection that was dated 1899
And earlier.
and earlier.
Even 1900 we'd accept, John.
Yeah?
Some will come in anyway, won't they?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, I thought about it, and I thought to myself, if you've got a bust of, say, Queen Victoria, she was, but
She went to 1900. She went to 1901.
yeah, but if the medal was made in 1901, but because she lived most of her life in the 19th century.
John, it's very simple, you can't show it.
Is that right? Okay.
That's pushing it.
Anyway, I didn't bring any of those.
Privileged position.
All right. Well, we'll start with who wants to start first?
Frank.
Frank.
Frank's got it all sorted out.
Frank's got some stuff ready to show.
Yeah.
You'll need to appreciate, of course, because of the age, a lot of it's pretty well worn, but I suppose if any of us ever lived at the same age as some of these would be well worn too.
I have another request. Because you're all going to be on YouTube.
Wear a tie.
Yeah, no. Speak a bit louder, so you know. A few people have said some of that conversation's a bit quiet. You know, get them to speak up a bit. So, and ideally, when you're speaking about a coin, give it to me so I can show it. So that while you're talking about it, the person on YouTube can also look at the coin.
Okay, well, the first one, I think it's going to be very hard to do that because if you want to pull out the plastic, no real drama. But that's a Louis the 14th from 1708 BB. Now I don't know, I've got no idea what the BB stands for. Is anyone?
That's a mint mark.
Bloody beauty.
Well, that's not,
It's a mint mark.
It's a 2 denier coin and it's copper. As I doubt you'll be able to see it through there. But Louis the 14th lived from 5th of September 1638 to the 1st of September 1715. He was known as Louis the Great, or the Sun King.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
He was a monarch of the House of Bourbon, who reigned as King of France from 1643 until his death in 1715. The obverse shows Louis the 14th and the reverse is a crown above 3 fleur-de-lis.
And what year was it again?
That was 1708.
So, yeah, no,
I don't think we're about to get in detail on it at all. Oh yeah, that's
well, that's nice.
showing up better than I thought.
Okay, yeah.
That's not bad, you could all.
Yeah, show that.
Yeah, that's not too bad, Frank.
It's copper, yeah. It's
Over 200 years.
better than I thought.
Almost 300 years.
Yeah. The second one is
You can see the BB at the very bottom.
Yeah.
So that's a mint mark.
So what's the BB?
I'm not sure exactly which mint it was.
Yeah, but the D, but say that the BB is aimed for the date.
Yeah.
Anyway. The second one is Louis the 16th, 1792, and it's a 2 sols and it's copper, but it does look like copper to me. I reckon it's a mix myself. It's called it yeah, he lived from,
Actually, it looks almost gold on this one because you're getting the reflection.
It's got something in it apart from copper myself, but anyway. He was around from the 23rd of August 1754 to the 21st of January 1793. He was born Louis Auguste. He was the last king of France before the fall of the monarchy during the French Revolution. He was referred to as a citizen Louis Capet during the few months before he was guillotined. And citizen Capet means he was desacralised. So he was tossed out of the church and everything else as well. Now, the next one is un decime, which is one decime, which I think is probably equivalent to about a cent, but I can't make out a date on it. But someone can help out there. It's got the AA at the bottom, and the rest of it. I just can't find a actual date on it anywhere. Or what I interpret to be a date.
Copper coin?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's during the revolution.
That's-
the LAN8 is a date.
AN,
Get
yeah.
that.
Yeah, it looks like something 8.
Yeah,
The Napoleon ones.
Yes, during the revolution, that one. Around the revolution years. So
Yeah.
that's a date. You can look it up in your coin catalogue. It'll come up with the date. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not sure what date it is, but it is
Dr.
a date.
Google didn't tell me.
Oh, no.
Well, I couldn't track anything down on it myself, but
Yeah, it's a date.
that was the 8th year of the revolution, or what, I don't know.
He's been dead for a few years, so.
You'll appreciate my biasness towards the French coins as well, so that's for the
Oh, with the name, with your surname, yes, yes.
pure coincidence. The next one we have is Napoleon III, Emperor, it's in 1864. It's 10 centimes, or 10 centimes. He was born Charles Louis Napoleon Bonaparte on the 20th of April 1808, and he lived till the 9th of January 1873. He was the nephew of Napoleon I, President of France from 1848 to 1852. When he could not be constitutionally be re-elected, he seized power in 1851 and became Emperor of the French from 1852 to 1878. The next one again is very, very small. I'm pretty sure you're not going to pick up much detail on that one. That was in French again, 1884, it's 1 centime. During that time they had a provisional government, and Felix Gouin was the president. I can't make out what's on the obverse of it.
Oh, that's Liberty, I think.
Yeah, there's the lady.
Is the lady, but no idea of who it might be.
You can all have all their French coins.
And following on that, and just a bit later, but pretty much the same ruling parties and what have you, we've got the 1888 5 centimes. That's during the French Third Republic, and the president at that time was Marie-Francois Sadi Corneau, and he lived from 1887 to, he was president from 1887 to 1888, and he was assassinated in 1894. At the same time they had a council, and the president of the council was Pierre Tirard from 1887 to 88, and he died in 1893. And Charles Fouquet was then from 1888 to 1889, and he died in 1896. It's the same obverse as the other smaller coin, which I couldn't figure out. And moving on, then we have the 1885 Swiss 5 francs. It's referred to as a shooting teller, referring to the Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland, Bern Festival Canton, which means, canton means small state. So apparently, within Switzerland itself there's all those little, I suppose you almost call them municipalities. They have their own army and all the rest of it. It's silver. It was first issued in 1842 and the last issue was 1885. Then then we have, well this one should have come first actually, 1883. If
There's a bear in the middle.
yeah. That's similar to the above, but in relation to the canton of Lugano, which is an Italian-speaking canton of Ticino, bordering Italy, and it's silver. The back's very well worn, so I can't. You can make out there's a rifle and something else there, but what the rest of it is, it's anybody's guess. But as it refers to the shooting tailor, you've got to expect that there's going to be a rifle or some firearm. Next one is a 1859 5 lira, showing Victor Emmanuel, who lived from 1820 to 1878. He was the King of Sardinia from 1849 to 1861, then the first King of Italy until 1878. He worked to free Italy from foreign control and became a central figure in the movement for Italian unification, and that again is silver. And just to show, so that John's not left out, we have a 10 lepta from Greece of 1869. Shows King George I of Greece. He was from 1845 to 1913 when he was assassinated. It's a copper coin. He was originally a Danish prince born in Copenhagen. So I don't know why he was assassinated. Any idea why he was? Somebody had his finger in the till, or
Somebody didn't like him.
somebody obviously didn't like him. But okay, so that's what I have.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
I did have a couple of other early German stuff, but I couldn't find it. So
Right, I was thinking you. Where was all the German stuff?
Something, but if I could only find it.
Frank.
Sorry.
start with the Netherlands. I'm reading this information from the coinage of a colonial of Australia, which is being autographed by Andrew.
Don't have the rare version of this at the
No.
Oh well, I guess it is Australian related somehow, isn't it?
Oh, there's John.
That's good. It's a lot nice. Yes, the early merchants of New South Wales traded along with other coins of the day. Let's see. I should have read some of this before when I got home this afternoon, but I didn't. Let's see. Struck in the Netherlands, this particular one. There was, at the time, there was 6 mints running, making these, from 1602 to 1795.
1765.
Yeah.
Utrecht.
Yes, Utrecht. You say it better than I do.
Turn it over again.
Let's see.
Still a more recent one.
What can I say about
Family connection, John?
no?
No, there's a whole series of those ones. That one from Utrecht, but you've got one from Holland, you've got from Friesland,
Yeah.
there's a few different ones.
Yeah,
Does
that's
everyone know
Guilderland,
why
is
that's
it?
from Utrecht? How you tell immediately? You spot it? The last 4 letters, TRAI, trajectum, that was the Latin word for Utrecht.
Oh, TRAI. Okay.
I think it's somewhere in this book. It goes through all that. Oh yeah, here it is. The
No,
legends.
you just didn't know it's an abbreviation. All abbreviations, every word there's an abbreviation.
BL,
Yeah.
Belgium. Belge.
There's 3 abbreviations for that particular province and mint. There's the TRA, TRAI, and a word I can't even begin to pronounce. Trajectum?
Trajectum.
Trajectum? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, this book's pretty good on showing the little details of the early coins like that. It also goes on to say, I think in here, that they then made coinage just for the East Indies provinces they controlled, so they had a separation, but there doesn't seem to be a difference in actual markings on the coin. They just made a bunch for the East Indies area.
They're made by the VOC, particularly the East India, Dutch East India Company.
Yeah. And the next one is a English, a little bit worn,
Spade Guinea.
but he's been around a while. Through a few pockets. That's what I like about them. Yeah, it's not too bad, but it's nice.
It's a bit cheaper in that condition.
It was then, I don't know what's worth now. I've had it a while. The guinea dates back 137 years before King's Proclamation in 1800. Reintroduced in Remead, the woeful state of British coinage. It was first struck on the 6th of February 1663 during the reign of King Charles II. That goes on a bit. What else have we got?
No Spanish ones?
No. I had a look through my collection,
Over the border the other Spain.
and most of my Spanish 8 reels are Mexico pots. I've got no Seville, unfortunately. I've probably been looking for them and haven't been able to afford them. But the proclamation value of the guinea was £1 and 2 shillings
Right.
at the time.
Yeah, because usually
£1 shilling.
Yeah, it's 21 shillings usually here.
21 shillings.
Plus a guinea. Right.
That's 2 shillings, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was a beginning, it was
Yeah.
not as an odd.
Odd amount.
I don't know how to read some of that stuff. Sometimes I don't know what they talk about.
Guinea used to be
I have to pass it on to the person who was around those days.
in different countries. That was
Yeah. So that's just a couple I brought in.
not English.
Thank you, Grant.
Yeah.
That might be one of these things that were around
Maurice.
in the grass. Guinea
Sorry.
pig.
He's telling jokes.
With England getting out of the common market, I don't know if something from Norwich in England, dated the 27th of June 1732, is European. It's just a bank draft, beautiful copperplate handwriting. It is for the sum of at least 6 days side payment to Mr. Tier Simons, or order £39, 10 shillings, value received, I place it to account of, and so on. But I just thought the copperplate handwriting just makes it look so very official.
Can we show it to the camera?
A good writing back then.
Tom Jones.
Right.
Yes, very nice.
Just something as a by the way, I looked up the date Captain James Cook was born, which was the 7th of November 1728. So our famous James Cook was 4 years old when that document was made.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Maurice. Matthew, did you bring any of your Scandinavian?
I forgot them actually.
No. Okay.
Good on shout.
Ross, do we have
European postal notes?
Yeah, bring a bit.
Bring a bit more paper. Well, I must remind you, Queensland issued the first postal notes in November 1880, followed by England in January 1881. So this is an example of the second type of English postal
Can we show it to
order.
the camera?
Sure. And that one was issued in 1889. It's during Queen Victoria's reign, there was 3 different types. With the issuing officers, that one's, where was this one issued? Darnell, January 19th, 1889. For those people interested in numbers, each issuing office started at number 1 for each denomination. So there's
What, A over 1 and then the number.
Number ones around. So that's all, pretty easy.
Thanks, Ross. Pat, you're on. You got anything, Jeff?
Didn't have tinnies around those days? Didn't have any tinnies from those days? No. Guess what? I'm sure they did have. They probably did.
This is a Greek silver obol, which is 1/6 of a drachma. It, on the head it's the head of pan, and it's the Metropolis mint was the mint mark on it. It's worth 1/6 of a drachma. Next one is the Macedonian Kingdom, 336 to 323 BCE. It's a silver drachma, uncertain mint, and it's 4.25 grams.
Also the Alexander.
Alexander the Third, Alexander the Great. One of his generals would have put it out for after he died. And the next one is a trace Lysimachos for 323 to 281. It's a 17.07 grams, uncertain mint, and the reverse is Athena seated, holding Nike in the right hand, resting the front arm on the ground, on the front arm in grounded shield, decorated with Gorgonus, wearing a crowned head of Alexander the Great, right wearing the horn of Ammon. It's a tetradrachma, which is 4 drachmas. The
Oh yes, sorry.
oh, pull this one out. One, two, three. Oh, that was the one I gave you for the this one is the 4 drachmas. Very similar with the same thing.
Yeah.
There.
This is the one you just get
Yeah,
described.
that's the one I just told you about,
Yeah, so
not the...
yes, because the Zeus certainly wasn't Athena.
Yeah. This is a silver tetradrachma of Mysiae Permagon, which is 166 to 67 BC, was struck in silver 95 to 92 BC. The obverse has the sister or sister maestra, which was a basket used for housing sacred snakes in connection with the imitation ceremony into the cult of Bacchus. The reserve of this coin has a bow case franked by serpents and a monogram. Pergamon, it's from Pergamon, one of the most cultured cities of the Asian Minor. This was the site of a Pergamese altar to Zeus. Its great library was appropriated by Mark Antony and given to Cleopatra to replace the one at Alexandria that was burnt. The city is overlooked by a magnificent acropolis of buildings and an impressive amphitheatre built into the side of a mountain. Oh, there it is. I haven't got the... This is a tri-amibol, which is 7.1 grams, 250 to 400 BC,
Let's see.
and it's a fourth of a drachma. That is a
Photo of it.
That's a photo of that coin.
Photo's a bit easier to see than the coin.
Thank you.
David, will you? Yeah. Uncle there. Always nice when someone chooses one of your favourite topics. Still so excluded by, you know, New South Wales and that sort of thing. Yeah, no, as most of you I've said many times before, I started off collecting medieval coins, which is narrow period of Europe, 500 to 1500 pretty much. And, you know, I thought it was a bit the time when Jim's new auction last April came up. He had quite a few interesting coins just outside my period. So it was not very far, but sort of more in what you might call a Renaissance, which is the 16th century. Interesting coins there. So I bought a few, and so most of what I'm going to show you now is just pretty well recent acquisitions. And I bought them for a reason, so I'll tell you sort of why I bought them. Okay, this, no, I'll find them first, here. This is one of the first ones that attracted me. So, did anybody sort of go to the auction or look through the catalogue? You know, okay.
I was there.
It was interesting to see, and just let me get this right, the right way, because there's a lot of iconography on this particular coin. I think that's right, that way. It's sort of on one side. It's probably the reverse, actually, of the coin. But that's probably the most interesting side in one sense. Let's see how it's coming out. Okay, it's a gold coin of France in the late 15th, early 16th century, under the king then Louis XII. Now, when you look at it, not that, apart from the cross with the fleur-de-lis at the end, there doesn't appear to be that much linking it to France. And you see those things in the diagonal, on the corners, the angles there, they're actually meant to be ermine tiles. And anybody who knows the sort of iconography of France, does that tell you anything? No. The Duchy of Brittany. The Bretons, they used ermine tiles in their coats of arms. So why we have ermine tiles? It actually, we'll say on the other side that Louis XII was actually considered King of France and Duke of Brittany. Why Duke of Brittany? Well, there's an interesting story here. His predecessor, Louis VIII, I think it was, married the Duchess of Brittany, who was the ruler of, I mean, Brittany's a big place. Have you ever been there? A lovely place, fantastic place to have a holiday. But Brittany was separate from the French crown. Theoretically, the French king was overlord of Brittany, but you know they didn't really like each other that much, and they stuck to their own. But she was the sole remaining heiress of Brittany at the time, and Louis VIII married her. He died. She was a widow. Louis XII came to the. Sorry, don't say Louis. Charles VIII. Louis XII came to the throne. He married her again. Okay, so he married his predecessor's widow. They weren't that related, so it was okay. But so she became historically the queen for the second time of France. That's very unusual to happen, and that's I think pretty unique. And he therefore had the title of Brittany. So we have the ermine tiles, and that was sort of the Britannia version of the French coin. Just on the other side, okay, that's upside down now. Okay, so there's the royal arms of France, and you can see on either side there's a crown with an ermine tile hanging from it, just to show that it's Brittany as well. And that little blodge on the bottom, not well struck up, but the symbol of Louis XII was the porcupine. It's actually meant to be a little porcupine. You can see the spines, sort of the tail spines hanging out there. So I thought it was a pretty interesting coin. It is documented in the catalogue. Jim and Co. They had the wrong number, but never mind. It's still a nice coin, so I was pleased to get that. that historically fits in a place. After he died, Francis I came to the throne. He ruled for quite a while, and he was definitely a Renaissance prince. His opposite number in England was Henry VIII. The famous scene where they had a wrestling match, and Henry rather fancied himself as a wrestler, but he lost completely to the King of France. Okay, that one. Later on in France, in the 16th century, there was a line of kings. This is an interesting one. I got a pretty good bargain on that one, I thought, it being a very, very beautiful Renaissance portrait of King of France, Henry III, who in fact was also King of Poland for some reason. See, FR et Pol, P-O-L,
Oh,
that gives it to you. And I've forgotten the circumstances why that was so, but it's sort of an elected position, or they were missing a king in Poland and he was some sort of related, I don't know. Anyway, it's King of France and Poland. The reverses are particularly fine Renaissance sort of design, and so well struck, I thought. So I had to have that one. H for Henry. So the H has got to be the right way up. Yeah, that's it. And you can see the date there, 1587, right near Rod's, right near the fingers. Yeah, so.
So David, are you saying they circulated in Poland as well?
Probably not. Probably not. They're a French coin. The Polish had other coins. I don't think that's that. But he was still the nominal. You know, that was his title. No, I'm not saying they're Polish. Definitely French though. And they circulated there. I mean, clearly it's not an Unk coin. There's evidence of circulation, but that's good for a 1587 item. Now here's another interesting one I brought along, and also sort of semi-French. So I've got to show you one first of all that I had before. This is not a recent acquisition, but it's an interesting coin. Anyone heard of the Kingdom of Navarre?
In Spain.
Where's that?
Yeah.
In northern Spain, or was. Not anymore, of course, it's joined in United Spain, but you've all heard of Pamplona? That's where they have the running of the bulls. That was the capital of Navarre in the late medieval times. It's also, if you know the area or ever been there, that's Basque country. Basques everywhere in that sort of corner of the Bay of Biscay and through the mountains there. That's where the Basques live. So there's always been a bit of contention there, even from medieval times, about their overlords, the sort of Spaniards, if you like, and the Basques themselves are always the underdog. Anyway, it was an independent kingdom, and then Ferdinand and Isabella fame, Isabella she who sent Columbus sailing off to America, after she sort of retired, she was a bit older than Ferdinand, and Ferdinand decided that Navarre shouldn't exist. Castile and Aragon had too many claims on it. He went and basically conquered the Spanish bit. Okay, and the arms of Navarre, where I got this coin out, have always been this design. The chains, the sort of cross of chains, and that really shows the arms of Navarre very, very clearly. Just whack it over the other side, Ross, and Rod, and have a look. F for Ferdinand. There he is. King of Navarre, made himself that, and that carried on over into the 16th century. Ferdinand died about 1512 or something like that, but his successors carried on. Now, on the other side of the Pyrenees, there's a bit of Navarre which was French territory. This is interesting, and they were squabbling about this, and the French rulers had that bit, and they added to it the county of Béarn and the county of Bigorre, and also further to the east the county of Foix. They were all territories of the ruler of the French bit, and they eventually they had to have some sort of treaty, sort of where the join would go between Spanish Navarre and French Navarre, and it was basically along the pit line of the Pyrenees, which still exists. It's the border of France and Spain today. Anyway, they had their own kings. The French had a king, or queen in this case, and here's one out of the auction. This is Joanna or Jeanne of Navarre, French Navarre. A little bit worn, but you can see there, R-E-G, Regina, Navarre, in the corner inscription, so clearly that's that. And that's also a dated coin. They're all pretty well dated in the 16th century. Just flip over and let's have a look at the date of that.
Little P looks a bit out of place, doesn't it?
Up the corner there, 1555 or something. It's only, you know, I'd call that coin good fine. It's almost not really VF, but it's close. Yeah, so the date is on the shield side up there, 1556, is it? No, not need my glasses on.
1556.
Yeah.
1556.
And she only ruled for 10 years. You can see now the shield and bar. That's already showed the chains in the top corner. There's some of the other counties on the French side, including one with also a little chain coin, but with the two cows, that gives it away as Béarn. Béarn, the capital of Béarn is Pau, and I went there with Judy a few years ago, and they actually do have the old Parliament of Navarre, French Navarre, still there, for visitors to have a look at. She was clearly related to you can see the lilies there with the stroke through it, so a sub-branch of the royal family of France, and you know, bits of Aragon, and all sorts of things there relating to the other counties in what was then Navarre. She had a son, Henry III, who, in some sort of hiatus in the French royal family, was invited to become French king. He became Henry IV of France. And the famous story about that. In Navarre, they're all Protestants. The Huguenots. This is the centre of Protestant sort of development in France. Huguenots. And he was brought up a Protestant, Henry, where they said, oh, you have to become a Catholic to be king of France. Paris is worth a mass, he says. And that's a very famous saying of his. Anyway, so it's a very complex story about how Navarre developed and how eventually it all disappeared, because eventually it was absorbed into the French crown on that side and absorbed into the Spanish crown on the other side. And that's the story of it. But I like it.
What's the value on that?
The value was spending money in those days. It's about the size of a sixpence or shilling, that type of size. They'll all go by the size. They're all much the same, just to weigh them, and that tells you how much they're worth. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of gold and silver. You know, no government decree that tells you what it's worth. It's what the market pays. Not that one for the moment. Now look, there's a sequel to the story, of course, always is. This little one here was also in Jim's auction. Not the best I've seen, but it's a demi-louis d'or of Louis XIII. This was the father of Franks, or Louis XIV, 1643. He was the son of Henry IV, the one I just talked about. Henry IV got assassinated. I've forgotten what the actual reason why that was, but he got assassinated and bumped off, and his son took over at a fairly young age. 1643. This particular design of Louis's head is also available in full Louis d'or, which is a half one, full Louis d'or, a 2 Louis d'or, a 4 Louis d'or, an 8 Louis d'or, huge gold coins. And the theory was the king liked to gamble, and this is what he gambled with, these great big gold coins. He was well enough rich. And of course, this was the era of the Three Musketeers. Remember the movie with D'Artagnan, played by Gene Kelly, the dancer, and all that? One of my favourite movies when I was a kid.
Here's the other side with the big
the
A
other
in the
side,
centre.
absolutely. The Lee and the A. A is the mint mark for Paris, so that's minted in Paris. And yeah, interesting coin. Not the best you'll find in terms of grade, but still a very acceptable one, I think. What else we got here?
Any idea, Dave, why A would stand for Paris? Any idea what A is Paris?
A is Paris.
Yeah, but just doesn't
There's
seem
in the catalogue a whole list of all the other letters which cities they're entered in. There are a lot of mint cities in those days. B, I think, is Lyon. Could be wrong there.
Is that Latin for the name of the city?
No, it doesn't mean English. They just sort of.
It's probably the first letter of the alphabet, and it's the premier letter, I guess.
B is obviously the second city of France, which is Lyon. So I'm pretty sure it'll be as Lyon, but I might be wrong. There's a whole one of the best catalogues of French coins is the one by Duplessis, and it's called a French Royal coin. So it goes up to the Revolution and not beyond. But it's got all this information. This last one, of France, that's also a recent acquisition. It's just so nice. I just felt I needed to have that one. Nothing to do with my normal collection. Everyone recognise who it is? Napoleon, that's right. But a young Napoleon. This coin was minted in about 1800. It shows Napoleon not as emperor, hadn't crowned himself in Notre Dame at this point, no, but he had seized power from the old, revolutionary parties, the Directory and so on. And the inscription there says, Bonaparte, Premier Consul, first consul. He was definitely the leader. He was the Field Marshal of France at that point. He just fought the Battle of Marengo in Italy against the Austrians. Successful, so he was definitely the leader of France at this stage. And it was only a few years later that he crowned himself in Notre Dame as emperor. This was the point where Beethoven was writing his Eroica Symphony. He dedicated it to Napoleon, thought he was a great man. But as soon as he heard he'd proclaimed himself emperor, he crossed out this in his inimitable style and dedicated it to a famous man unknown, so. But yeah, just on the other side.
That looks like a signature under the bust.
The little signature. That's the mint mark. That's the engraver. Yeah, the French did that.
I mean, most people put initials, but he has his full signature.
Yeah, just like KG Kruger Gray. So you got that sort of thing. 20 francs. That was a sort of like equivalent sovereign of the French.
Yeah, 12.
And you see down the bottom, L''AN. That means the year 12. Douze. When they had the revolution, they decided they didn't want to carry on with all this clerical numbering system or anything, nothing to do with religion. Start from year 1, first year of the revolution, and work up from there. And they didn't even start them in January. It started somewhere in the middle of April or whatever, and from the revolution. And then they renamed all the months too. You know that? So they talk about the revolution of Brumaire, which is some month in which Napoleon knocked over the old guard of the revolution, and had them mostly executed by guillotine. Fairly ruthless in those days. Anyway, it's a nice coin, and it was only a couple of years after that it was too inconvenient to have all these special names for seasons and months and dates. So they went back to the ordinary dates. After that, sense prevailed. Look, there's a couple of other little ones too, all of which of the period. This one of Portugal was nice too. Nice Cruzado of Sebastian. Don't know much about Sebastian, but he ruled in the middle of the 16th century, and this is a Cruzado, and it's a pretty coin. Cruzado, the cross.
Yeah.
He used the same Latin motto as Constantine. See if I can find it. No, that's the old verse. That's okay. It's got the shield of Portugal with the five Moorish shields conquered in a famous battle, and then Sebastian. Sebastianos. What does it say? De Gracia. No. King of Portugal. You can see the PLRT. Around the other side, we've got the cross. That's it. And in hoc signo, and by this sign, or in this sign, I conquer, or he conquers. By the sign of the cross, basically saying he conquers. Okay, not much more to go. This is late 16th century. James VI of Scotland, soon to become James I of England. And it's a bit of a knocked about coin, but it's an interesting one, I thought. So let's look at this side. So we're back on British territory now, but Scottish. It's a Scottish coin. So you can see the rampant line of Scotland there. You can see on either side of the shield 2 thistles, and the crown there, Jacobus. And he was James VI of Scotland, the son of Mary Queen of Scots, who was executed. He was brought up completely estranged from his mother. She was a staunch Catholic. He was brought up as a Protestant. 1591, quite late in his reign. Queen Elizabeth was still on the throne of England at this stage. She died in 1600 something, 01 or 2.
Yeah.
So Jacobus there, and it's a bit faint. The rest of it, flip over. Just the significance of what this little design is.
Sword and the
What
scales.
can you
huh?
see? Scales, balance,
Yeah.
called a balance half merk. Merk was a Scottish denomination, and the sword there, the sword of justice and the scales. It's like the statue on the Old Bailey in London, you know, and speaks about the justice and so on. So that's yeah.
Did you get that one at the Noble auction as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there was a good collection of Scottish.
Yeah, I had a lovely collection from the Oval auction, and none of that didn't even make estimate.
Yeah,
So-
there was a few people interested in the Scottish stuff. Yeah.
There were. There's always people interested in Scotland, always, because they're rare, much rarer than English. Now here's the last two, and the same person or similar person, people really. It's all about who remembers the Agony and the Ecstasy, the film. Charlton Heston as Michelangelo, and
yeah.
and Pope Julius II, Rex Harrison. Yeah. Well, they're all about painting the Sistine Chapel and the statuary that Michelangelo had to carve for the funeral, for the memorial for Sixtus IV, who was Sistine Chapel was named after. They're both related. One was a sort of cousin of the other. So here's the first one, a coin of Sixtus himself, the Sixtus PP Quartus, it says on the. There you go. Typical Roman grosso with Peter and Paul, and Peter with the keys, Paul with the sword, and on the other side there's the coat of arms with the cross branches like this. That's the arms of the De la Rivera family, which Sixtus was a leading light. So Sixtus PP Quartus, the fourth, Sixtus the fourth. And it was him, they named the Sistine Chapel after. Of course, Michelangelo had to paint the ceiling, paint falling in his eyes and all of that, as well as carve a few sculptures for the memorial. And the person who insisted on all that was his nephew, always nephews, never sons, Pope Julius II, who was a soldier. And his one similar to the other one, but Alma Roma, the Rome mother, and there once again Peter and Paul, more of a Renaissance look than the other one. The other one you could call medieval, this Renaissance, definitely. Figures in the round, and same Peter and St Paul, and on the other side, once again, the family arms of the interleaved tree, and the papal tiara and cross keys and everything papal about it. And so that came out of the auction. That and coupled with another one similar. So I reckon I did pretty well with those. Nice coins. All got a story.
Very good, thanks David.
I've only got one really, but I thought I'd show you this to begin with. Oops. Everything's falling apart, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay, you'll all have seen one of those coins before.
Yes.
It's not really 19th century or earlier, it's Australian. But my mother and all my relatives, and Greek relatives of that age, used to call them dekaros. Deka is the Greek word for 10, so they call them tenors. I always sort of wondered, this is a strange thing the oldies are doing, but as a young person you sort of think it's strange, you don't worry about that. But I found out years later, if you look at this coin, it's the same as the 10 lepta that was shown earlier. And that's why they call them tenors. And the same size, made of copper. And the story behind them is that in 1865, France, Italy, and a couple of other countries joined together and they made what they called the Latin Monetary Union, similar to the euro, except they didn't print euros, they all had their own currency, but they minted coins to the same size and fineness. The gold coins were all the same size as each other, the silver coins, the copper coins and so on, and they used a bimetallic system where they had 15.5 ounces of silver was equal to 1 ounce of gold. And so that way, whatever coin you got, whether it was called drachmas or French francs or whatever, you could exchange it anywhere else in Europe and you knew the value. The value was all the same. And that lasted officially until 1927, I think it was. It's all in here. What happened was that they started running into problems. One of the problems they ran into was very early, was in the 1866 when the Vatican started. They started minting coins with less silver in them than everybody else did. Eventually, they were, in 1870, they were just told, shown the door and told they weren't part of the union anymore. Other countries sort of tried that a little bit, but not really. But one of the other problems they ran into then was that the price of silver from 1873 started dropping. Different ways of making it or refining it were found, and so it dropped in value. So if you're a bit of a smarty, what you do is you take make coins to the right size and specification, and go and swap them for gold, and then end up with a nice tidy profit. So they had to switch over to just a gold standard after that. But then apparently, if France and Italy went one better, and they decided, well, why not make paper money that's the same specific value, and then go and swap that for gold. So, and then afterwards came pressure from the First World War as well. That put a lot of pressure on everybody, and the whole thing just fell apart. And it actually fell apart during the First World War, but it continued until the 1820s officially. So that's why I brought that along, because I thought it was an interesting little story that everybody was, and they seem to have picked the same size of coins as the English. England wasn't part of the Latin Monetary Union, but they were pretty much the same size and value.
I wasn't sure how much we'd have tonight, so I dug around at the last minute to see if I could find a few things, which I did. Unfortunately, there weren't any bimetallics. A bit early for bimetallics, but...
What year was the model penny? What year was the model penny in bimetallic?
Oh, yeah, but I've shown those before, so I didn't bother. Just like I didn't bother to bring the English tin. You've seen it too many times. But I did find these. They're not really great condition, and really in this light you can't see them very well. So what's the best way? Take them out. Okay, this was a Austrian 1 kreuzer of 1812. Luckily nobody else showed Austrian tonight, so I'd show some Austrian. Pretty worn coin, but like we were saying earlier on, it's the value of the metal is the value of the coin. Sticking with Austria, there's a silver 10 kreuzer. Again, very worn. And the last Austrian one, slightly nicer condition coin, is a 1872 10 kreuzer.
Franz Joseph,
Yeah, Franz Joseph. A young Franz Joseph. And there's the other side with the Austrian eagle. And that's all I have to show tonight. That's it.
What were they? What were the rest of them?
The others all British halfpennies and pennies that everyone's seen. They were fill-ins in case nobody brought anything. We didn't have to worry about that.
Well, I'll just show a few things, and then we'll wind the meeting up, and we'll have our refreshments, and after the meeting closes, and a bit of discussions about.
And everyone can give me the name and the day they'd like to come to the expo.
Yeah. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Have you got something to show? Huh?
Not of tonight's thing, just
No.
recent acquisition,
Recent acquisition. Do you want to show recent acquisition? Do you want to show something?
if you want to.
As long as it's not 50 pieces.
Right?
As long as it's not 50 pieces.
Yeah, you show yours first. Show yours and then I'll show you mine.
Yeah. It's
Okay,
getting time for tea, isn't it?
I brought along a Dutch medal. This particular medal is for the, it's basically like an expo medal, international colonial and export exhibition. So it was it's an exposition that they held in Amsterdam in 1883. It's quite a nice large medal. I think it's yeah, so the exhibition that they had, basically it's a world fair that they sort of tried to sort of have in different countries all the time. It was the brainchild of a French entrepreneur, Agostini, who had previously been involved in organising the 1878 exposition in Paris. Presented his plans to the city of Amsterdam and King William III. Now I've been trying to collect as much William medals and coins from William the First, Second and Third as possible, and this one came up, so I had to buy this one. So there was that's an exhibition, an export medal.
So he's got that 3X there. Is that his favourite beer?
3X.
3X.
What year
No,
was
it's
that?
the 4X, not the 3X.
1883. 1883.
If you see that, it says
Did they
Médaille d'Argent, so this person actually won a silver medal, but obviously all the medals were the bronze ones, but they marked what the award was.
Yeah, I have seen an image of one that has the exhibitor's name above
Right.
that section, and still d'argent,
Yeah.
but nothing.
So a silver medal that he won, but they all got that, and they just specified what category they won.
Yeah.
So who started first those exhibitions? England or France?
I would have
Oh,
to
I
say
think
that it
the
would have
continent probably.
been France. Yeah, because it was. It says here.
England.
The
had
event
one in
the
about
event
1860.
was the brainchild of Agostini, a French entrepreneur. So I think they would have had some of these expos before
The Crystal Palace, yeah.
Crystal Palace and Queen Victoria's husband got
Albert.
involved in it. Albert. Yeah. I've got a nice silver piece from George III, 1787. I told my children that this thing came out in the First Fleet.
They believe you?
No. So, it's got a nice piece. Float well struck. This one here is a one guilder coin from Holland. It's, as we were sort of discussing it when Grant put his one down. This particular one from the province of Holland rather than Utrecht.
I've got four of them, four different things.
Yeah, that one was 1793. This one here, again, it's but this one's somewhat different because, like, that one says it's 1 guilder. This one here says it's 10 stover. It's an earlier coin, but again, it's one from Holland. I think the 10 stover is in actual fact a half a guilder, from what I could read. Yeah, half a guilder.
I'll still read 49.
Now this particular one here, this is a 2.5 guilder silver coin. I say silver sort of quietly, but 2.5 guilder. It's a William II 2.5 guilder. It's quite an interesting coin, this one. It sort of has seen better days, but I did a fair bit of research on this one because I really wasn't happy when I found this coin, and so I did a lot of research on it. I found that not only was it heavier than what it should have been, and it was slightly bigger than what it should have been. And again, like we always talk about having catalogues and reference material to sort of marry up your coin to your previous histories. On the other side, if we can just turn that one over, you'll see that the one of the mint marks is a little dagger. Well, the little dagger didn't show up until 1843. So the people that actually made this coin sort of got it slightly wrong. I then took that actual coin to a company in Sydney, and they had this really nice machine that sort of analyses what metals are inside the coin. They use this machine to sort of check on silver content, gold content, and on all sorts of different things. Anything that's made in precious metal, they can use this. It's a handheld machine. It's quite an interesting little thing. But when we analysed that particular coin, it basically told me that it was 14.89% silver, not 92.5%. There was 0.182 of zinc in it, but it was 84.92% copper. So that's probably why it was the wrong weight and the wrong diameter. But it's
Nice coin.
It's a contemporary for you, though,
Yeah.
isn't it?
yeah. So I sort of sometimes think that they might have made it in the 1900s or later, but
Contemporary.
It's got a date stamp of 1841 on it, so it sort of fits the bill for tonight. Even though it might have been made a lot later. But there was an interesting little thing that happened with that particular coin at the last Ander Fair. There was another one very similar to that one in one of the dealers' tables. Had the similar light markings on it that sort of gave you the impression that somebody's been testing it for silver by dropping a little bit of acid or something on it to see if it sort of looked silver. But the proof is in using this particular machine.
You wanted that?
It tells you straight away that it's certainly not a silver coin. That's all I've got to show. I hope everybody enjoyed the variety that we had of the different.
Have his recent acquisitions to it?
Yes. We'll now bring up.
Thank you, John.
Pat, and he can. I'll look at this book, Brent.
Yes.
And Pat will show us his recent acquisitions.
after Peter's effort the other time in regard to periodic tables, the coin came up there from, and I don't like buying them from other countries, but this one was put out by the Perth Mint, and it's a periodic table coin, and it's just says 150th anniversary. I've just got another coin at home which I didn't bring tonight. The first VC was House in the Boer War. He was the first VC winner in the Boer War, and I didn't bring that coin with me tonight. But have you got that book? The book for the. Oh, I'll get one here.
So that would have been the British arm.
Sorry?
The British arm, was it?
Yeah, the first Boer War.
Well,
Yeah. And Coin and Banknote magazine came out, and it had medals that were produced by the Victorian ANS. They brought their first medal out in copper and silver. There was 20 silvers produced and 80 coppers. That's in the
NAV.
The first one in the First World War was Albert Jacka, and that's the first VC that came with the First World War, was Albert Jacka, and that is in a copper. And the last VC winner in the First World War was the last VC winner. I was lucky enough to get a silver medal, and there was only 20 of those in the first lot and the last lot. So there's 20 silvers and 80 bronze that they produce for themselves over at the ANS.
NAV.
NAV, yeah. So that's it.
Thanks, Pat.
Is there any other recent acquisitions? Okay, well, we'll close the meeting and we'll go into our refreshments, and thank you all for coming. Don't forget, we're not having any meeting in June, and our next meeting is July the 8th of July, and that will be here again, isn't it, Rob?
Yes.
I think there's a Petersham fair early June, and then there's
End of June.
end of June, is it?
Fifth Sunday.
Huh?
Fifth Sunday of June.
Fifth
is
Sunday,
it?
yeah.
If there is.
So how does that correspond with your one? Your one's the middle of June, is it?
Yeah. The one at
It's the 13th to the 16th.
yeah, 13th to the 16th.
And most of the dealers who go to Petersham will be
Yeah.
at the end of one, not under the Stamp Expo.
And then the IBNS have got a convention down in Goulburn this weekend with
This weekend.
Victorian and Canberra members coming, visiting and speaking.
Very good. All right. Let's go have coffee.
Albert Jack has survived the war too.
Yes.
I think Noble sold jacket VC early in the piece, no? Not sure. They've been to warm for it, no doubt.
Oh yeah.
Where's that machine? John, where's that machine? Who's got that?
W.J. Sanders.
W.J. Sanders.